My daughter-in-law whispered in my ear that September evening would haunt me for weeks. I'm pregnant with your husband's baby, you foolish old woman. Instead of breaking down, I laughed. A bright clear sound that rang through our dining room. Don't worry, dear, I heard myself say. Everything will work out just fine. The mahogany table gleamed under our antique chandelier, set with my grandmother's finest china. It should have been perfect. A family dinner with our son Judd and his wife of 3 years, Lilia. After 43 years of marriage, Cedric and I had hosted countless such evenings. But tonight felt different. Lilia sat across from me, her blonde hair pulled back in that severe style she favored, green eyes sharp as cut glass. At 28, she was 15 years younger than our son, and from the moment she'd entered our family, something about her had set me on edge. The way she watched people, studied them, like a predator assessing weaknesses. Tonight, she was practically glowing with triumph. I have news, she announced suddenly, rising gracefully from her chair. News that will change everything for our family. Judd straightened, his face lighting up with anticipation. My husband Cedric, usually so attentive, kept his eyes fixed firmly on his plate. I'm pregnant. The words should have brought joy. Judd leaped up to embrace his wife, his face transformed with happiness. Mom, Dad, you're going to be grandparents. I should have been crying happy tears, planning nursery colors. Instead, something cold and ugly twisted in my stomach as I watched Lilia's eyes over Judd's shoulder. She was watching Cedric with unmistakable satisfaction. As Judd moved to pour champagne, Lilia walked slowly around the table. She leaned down as if to hug me, but instead whispered those devastating words in my ear. I'm pregnant with your husband's baby, you foolish old woman. The world tilted. My hands gripped the table until my knuckles went white. But somehow, impossibly, I laughed. Don't worry, dear. Everything will work out just fine. Sleep didn't come that night. I lay beside Cedric, this man I'd shared my life with for over 4 decades, wondering if he was a stranger. The next morning, I began to search for the truth. In Cedric's study, hidden beneath gardening magazines, I found bank statements for an account I didn't know existed. Large deposits appeared randomly, 5,008, 12,000, followed by cash withdrawals in round numbers. Where was this money coming from? Where was it going? But the real revelation came later, when I watched from my kitchen window as Lilia approached our gardener, Marcus. Their conversation was brief but intense, ending with her pressing an envelope into his hands. Money. But why would she be paying our gardener? The pieces began forming a picture I didn't want to see. When I searched Lilia's belongings in our guest room, I discovered the horrifying scope of her deception. Hidden beneath her designer sweaters was a manila folder containing bank statements in Judd's name, showing transactions my son had never made. Withdrawals of 15,000, 20,000, the 25,000, more money than Judd made in months. Credit applications for cards he'd never mentioned. Loan documents that would destroy his finances. And at the bottom, a handwritten list in Leah's Northwestern Mutual or 45 and Zarzalazan and Chase credit line, a 30,000 personal loan M. Santoso 18 Salazars. This wasn't about an affair. This was about money. Lots of money that my son didn't have. The truth came out in my backyard on a rainy Thursday morning. Lilia had arrived unexpectedly, her usual confidence replaced by something that looked almost like panic. I found her arguing heatedly with Marcus and Cedric near the garden shed. I can't keep doing this, Marcus was saying, his face sick with guilt. Judd's a good man. He doesn't deserve this. We've discussed this, Lilia replied, her voice ice cold. When they noticed me approaching, the conversation stopped abruptly. But Marcus looked directly at me with pleading eyes. Mrs. Holloway, there are things you need to know. That's enough, Lilia snapped. But Marcus continued, the words pouring out like he'd been holding them back for months. She's been blackmailing Mr. Holloway, threatening to destroy Judd if he doesn't cooperate with her lies. The world seemed to tilt around me. What lies? About the money, Marcus said quietly. About Judd's gambling debts. About the accounts she made him open, the loans she convinced him to take. She got him into it, encouraged him to bet bigger, then offered to help. For a price. I looked at Lilia, who was watching this revelation with something like amusement. What price? I whispered. Silence, cooperation, a marriage that gives me access to your family's resources. Her hand moved to her stomach. And insurance for the future. The baby, I whispered. It isn't Judd's. That evening, I sat alone in my living room, processing the enormity of what I'd learned. My son was drowning in gambling debt. My husband was being blackmailed. My daughter-in-law was a calculating manipulator carrying another man's child. But fate handed me the key to everything. While checking our guest bathroom, I found something Lilia had dropped. A crumpled envelope from Genetech Laboratories. Inside was a DNA test result dated just 3 days prior. See Mother Lilia Catherine Holloway, alleged father I1 Judd Michael Holloway, EXCLUDD% probability, alleged father 2A. Marcus Daniel Sayud, a 99.7% probability. Here was the proof I needed. But why did she have this test? The answer came in a flash of horrible clarity: insurance. This was her backup plan, her proof that she could destroy our family whenever she chose. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd lost it. I planned the revelation with military precision. Another family dinner, but this time I would be the one with surprises. Sunday evening arrived. I'd prepared all of Judd's favorite foods, set the table with our finest china. Lilia arrived radiant, glowing with the satisfaction of a woman who believed she held all the power. We made pleasant small talk through the appetizers. Then, as I served the main course, I began my carefully orchestrated revelation. I've been thinking about genetics lately, I said conversationally. It's fascinating how traits get passed down. Eye color, hair texture. Lilia's fork paused midway to her mouth. I wonder what the baby will look like, I continued. Modern science is so advanced now. DNA testing. Paternity confirmation, it's quite remarkable. The word paternity hung in the air like a loaded gun. I stood and retrieved the manila envelope I'd placed on the sideboard before dinner. My hands were steady as I returned to the table. Lilia, dear, I said, my voice gentle but implacable, I believe you dropped something in my bathroom last week. Her face went white as I placed the DNA test results in front of her. What followed was the most painful hour of my life. Judd's face crumpled as the truth sank in, not just about the baby, but about everything. The gambling debts that had made him vulnerable. The manipulation that had trapped him in Lilia's web. Lilia tried desperately to salvage the situation, spinning stories about being forced into the affair. But her lies sounded hollow now, transparent in the face of documented proof. The cleanup was swift. Lilia packed that very evening. I arranged for her to stay with Marcus's sister in Phoenix, not out of kindness, but to give her a chance to start over honestly. 6 months later, I received a photo in the mail, a baby boy with dark hair and Marcus's gentle eyes. On the back, in Lilia's handwriting, his name is David. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Judd started attending Gamblers Anonymous, facing his addiction with characteristic determination. Cedric and I grew closer than we'd been in years, our marriage strengthened by the truth we'd finally shared. And our real grandchild. She arrived 8 months later, a beautiful girl born to Judd and his new wife Sarah, with her father's dark eyes and her mother's infectious laugh. Sometimes the greatest victories are the quietest ones. Not dramatic confrontations or public revelations, but the simple act of choosing truth over lies, forgiveness over revenge, and love over fear. At 65, I learned it's never too late to fight for your family. And sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't anger or accusation, but the quiet dignity of a woman who knows her own worth and refuses to let anyone diminish it.